Welcome, everyone, to another Monday Win by Noon weekly webinar. I am your host, and I guess I'm your co-host and the founder of Win by Noon, Todd Bookspan. I think most of you know that by now, but just in case you're new, welcome. We're super excited that you're here, either watching this live or watching this recorded. And as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Deborah Bird, the CEO and founder of Plug and Play SM. What's up, Deborah?
Hello. I feel like we need to do a little disclaimer that I've actually been on for an hour.
Well, I didn't
You
want
know,
to
the
tell people
whole the
that. You
whole
were so
change in
excited to be
time.
here that you got on earlier.
I am. This is the last official week of November, and then we start the last month of the year. So it's to me, I love this time of year because it's an easy way to reconnect with people just because of the holidays and reminding to be grateful for the fact that we can even spend holidays with family because it wasn't that long ago. I mean, we're talking 2 years ago. You couldn't even travel and fly. So there's just small little stepping stones that, remind you of what to be grateful for and how you can reconnect with a database or with partners because this is the time of year everyone's either getting refocused or they're on vacation. I will say those are the two things.
I think I think that is it. And so there's lots of different ways that that we can start on. So first off, yes, I'm grateful for you, Deborah. I'm grateful for everyone who's here. This would definitely be way more boring because I don't know that people would actually just want to hear me talk to myself over and over again. Although I actually did enjoy my episode on put yourself in the path of opportunity, even though,
I
you weren't
really
here.
liked it. Yeah.
I got lots of good feedback on that. If you haven't watched it, go check it out there on the Win by Noon YouTube channel. I'm very excited, actually. Ben Kinney, who was kind of the conversation that inspired that, I'm actually going to be in a mastermind that he is co-leading next Thursday and Friday, the 8th and 9th here in Arizona.
I am so jealous. I've heard him speak once in Dallas. He did it's called Real Estate 8 course, and he did talk about the 10 days of pain follow-up that you had mentioned in that webinar that you hosted. And he is phenomenal. Like I'd love to get him on an interview if you can
Well,
make that happen.
guess what? I'm going to be asking him to come on an interview for this call when I see him there. It's a group that's co-led by him and Brian Gubernick, and Brian is the head of Homeward, which is another one of those. Ben is the co-founder of Place, which is a big startup. They got $100 million investment from Goldman Sachs for 10%. So you can do the math, $1 billion valuation. And there's another, kind of super group from KW that started a company called Homeward. I think that's Tim Heil and his group, but I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's him. And Brian is their president, or he's some big important person there. So I'm excited to spend 2 days with them in a room full of real estate agents. And, I think what I would say is about the 18 days. So I think there's two pieces of it that I think I want to talk about. And then I'm interested to hear what you want to talk about. Number one is, what is it that you actually want to get accomplished? So I said 18-ish days because I counted out between now and Christmas. The 23rd is a Friday. And so I said, well, I don't know if people are even going to work on that Friday. I'll probably work half a day or 3/4 of a day on that Friday. And then I'm not planning on working that next week at all, right? You have 5 days between, Christmas and New Year's. And so I think that's a reactive time for most loan officers and real estate agents, meaning you're not going to be sitting there saying, okay, I'm going to dial every lead today and I'm going to, call my pre-quals and I'm going to be trying to set some listing appointments. You're going to be just answering the phone. If it rings, you'll be like, oh, okay, I'm here to help. But if no one calls you, you're not really going to care because you're going to be kicking back that week. That's how I see it. So that's number one, is what do I want to accomplish between now and then, and really talk about goals and in all areas of where you want to be at the end of 2023. And that always leads me to business planning. And then it leads me to, personal, goal setting, like what's really important, kind of the life planning side of things. And I haven't scheduled a life planning class. I've got a business planning class. I'll find the link to it and I'll throw it in here and I'll throw it in YouTube if you're watching it. If you haven't missed this, depending when you're watching it, but I'm doing how to business plans, really a realtor/loan officer business planning class, and also how to plan with your partners. Because again, there's no better way to build relationship and accountability than for you, whether you're a real estate agent or you're a loan officer, working with your partner. So those are my kind of areas of focus for the next 25 minutes. What are you thinking, Deborah?
So for me, which I have all of December planned, but December is my month where I go back and I'm double checking, going through Calendly, did every single discovery call get reported and do we have notes and be in touch? It's kind of like my month of just fine tuning and buttoning up everything that we've done every quarter. And, that way we can plan for the next year and have real data that everything's been spot checked. Because usually I have someone on the team who will give me the data every quarter, but I just always, sometimes that human error of input garbage in is garbage out. So every year I always will go back and I'm like, okay, this wasn't recorded correctly, or this wasn't marked off as completed, or this person didn't qualify for services. And so I like to spend this entire month just buttoning up the data in our database, and do we have everyone in a pocket, and then projecting for the next year of what we want to accomplish. So
I love that.
it's like a
I love
cleanup
that.
month.
Yeah, it's a little
Mhm.
like a catch-all month, right?
Yeah, even for taxes and like looking at bank accounts and, you know, dreading the days. Did everything get categorized correctly? How are we doing on how much is where for different categories, and just, making sure every T is crossed. And, right now we've had a lot of clients making movements from different companies. And so who do we need to follow back up with? Who was on pause because they couldn't market until they had gotten everything switched over to their new company. And so it's just and this typically happens in December. Ironically, I think people make moves during the slower time of year, to then start the new year fresh and strong. And so it's been exciting, because this is also when we have clients get excited about reamping their social media for the start of the new year as well. So, but we've got to have the foundation set and buttoned up and tight, so then we can start the next year
You know
strong.
what? It's so interesting. So here's what I tell all you people who are thinking about moving. So normally I find a lot of people want to move in this kind of market because, they feel like it's their company's the reason that they're not producing at a high level. And I hate to say it, look in the mirror. It could be you. I'm not saying it is, but I said it
Mhm.
could be. And I always say my buddy Jared Hamilton, my favorite quote of his is, the grass is always greener where you water it, which he
Mhm.
stole from somebody else, but he's the one who first told to me. I thought that was really, key. He's someone who's been at his company for over 20 years. And, always, again, if you've been at a company for 20 years, you're highly recruitable. People are like, oh, that guy's never going to move, but I want to get him. If I can get him, I can keep him.
Mhm.
And so, just sort of think on that. But no, I love it that you're looking at it from, truly looking back at the opportunity. So I would say, if I'm a loan officer, real estate agent, what are the leads then that fell through my cracks that could have a check-in call, right? It's an easy call to have, but it's a hard call to have. Call reluctance is, oh my gosh, I forgot that lead 90 days ago or 6 months ago. The easy part of that script is, hey, awesome. I was just thinking about you as we go towards the year, and I'm trying to plan out and look for who's looking for opportunity in this new market for next year. And I wanted to see what you were thinking, right? Just something along those lines that you can throw out there to re-engage old leads. So let's put that at the top of my to-do list for business for December, is re-engage old leads, right? I mean, why not? You've got those leads out there. Let's get them out there. And then the other thing that you said, Deborah, which I think is really important, and it's become more important to me. She's never going to watch this because it's going to sound bad when I talk about my accountant. But I met with a tax strategist last week,
Mm.
and
Oh,
gave me some ways to save on my taxes. And I sent him my taxes to review. I'm waiting for him to do that. It's a little bit late. I should have done that October 15th. But I would tell y'all, like, look at any last minute tax moves you can make in order to
mhm.
minimize some part of taxes legally, right? And the tax code is there. Y'all know I'm on this big old rabbit hole for wealth right now. And so that's just one of those things I think people should do. And then, is there anything else that you committed to do that this year that you haven't gotten done? So like for me, my goal was to be at 25 rental properties owned. And guess what? I'm closing on 10 this week, which will take me from 15 to 25. And ironically, I might even have one or two more that'll close, this year. So I might even exceed my goals. And then I'll just kind of talk transparently. I originally set a goal in my brain, and I spoke it out loud to a couple of people, that next year I was going to double that from 25 to 50. And I decided I was thinking too small. So my new goal for next year is 100 doors. So actually, all
Wow.
that, triple what I have, quadruple what I have. That's what it would be. So that's my new goal. Feel like people, we don't think big enough. And so I'm
Mhm.
going to encourage you all to think a little bit bigger. What's one area of your life where you're not thinking big enough, where you want to push yourself more? And then you got to figure out, well, what do I have to do to get there? How do I put myself in the path of opportunity in order to make sure that happens?
Wow. Now I feel like an underachiever.
Oh gosh, I'm developing a plot of land and building a bunch of houses. No. That's like
You
really
know,
cool.
I really want to find, and this is where I just don't know a lot about it. I would love to learn, and that's on, the charts, but I would like to get into apartments. I saw Wally just bought his second apartment complex, and I'm like, you know, how can I do that? What's the process? How is it different than buying a single property? And is it too overwhelming to think that you have all these tenants? And so I've been curious about that. Do you know anything about apartment buildings, or do you have any interest in that?
Well, at my little mastermind I was at 2 weeks ago,
Oh,
had someone who's one of the leaders of the group. She got up and actually spoke. Her family owns some large apartment complexes, ironically in Texas, I think. And they actually walked through what the market currently looks like, and
okay.
where the market is going to go, and how there's probably this opportunity over the next year to 2 years, where because certain markets have overbuilding of
Mhm,
what you call kind of the A-class stuff, the 4 and 5 star stuff, there's a lot of
mhm,
overbuilding. And the expensive stuff right now, like the $2,000 and $3,000 a month rents here in Phoenix, the high end stuff where you have like, fancy workout rooms and yoga studios and all sorts of amenities. Right now, they are having a higher vacancy rate than the $1 to $3 sign
mm,
stuff, and there's a ton of it being built, so it's all coming on the market. So when you look at that, most likely what that means is that rents are going to come down on those. They're not going to meet their projections, and maybe some of those are going to go back to the bank, and there's going to be some opportunities to buy some of those. And so
mm.
certainly on my radar screen, as I start talking through wealth more in 2023, something certainly I'll be putting out there. I've owned fourplexes in the past, and I bought those when I
Mm.
was a newer investor because I said I could afford a vacancy in one unit more than I could afford a whole vacant single family home. And then I built it, went from 5 single family homes to 11 single family homes to 15, including a commercial property. And so all of a sudden, then you kind of can self-regulate the risk. But no doubt, I think as you start looking into these other investor groups, I mean, there's definitely opportunity. And so that'll be definitely talk more about that.
Yes, I want to learn. But, also to piggyback on the thing that you said about re-engaging with old leads, I wish I had the number. I was trying to find it while you were speaking while also paying attention, which I know I shouldn't be multitasking. But just this last Friday, I did a video for all of my clients. And I even told them, so the whole theme was about your database and how to segment your leads. And I showed them, I use Smart Sheets, kind of like a Trello board for those who use Trello, but there's ways you can automate Smart Sheet, and you can do it like a cell, like like an Excel spreadsheet, but you can also change to card view. And so I like to be able to see a dashboard to see, okay, where are all of our like leads versus prospects versus those who qualified or who applied, but you're just waiting on paperwork. And then who are those who applied, but there's credit issues or debt to income ratio issues. So anyways, I went through this whole thing of how to segment just your database when it comes to clients. And I showed my system and just the number of missed opportunities. Like if I didn't do this in December and go back and just spot check where there could be possible human error, because none of us are perfect, there's a lot of opportunity there that could be converted. And then also getting more intentional with how we're going to market to those people. Like if they're in a campaign and they didn't credit qualify, well, then I want to make sure that they're only getting messaging that is about credit related or financial literacy with budgeting. But all of my clients, I told them, because I have access to MMI, that I would be willing to run a report for them if they told me their county of who the top real estate agents are in their area, so they could at least start getting their prospecting list together from a referral source standpoint, because that's what the continuation of last week's call will be. This week we'll talk about your database with your partners, but how do you know who to target? Like, are you just targeting listing agents on the other deals of contracts? Not that that's not a place to start, but I'm like, I have data and I'm willing to pull the data for you to show you who the heavy hitters are on the buy side in your area, so you can start creating that battle plan for next year of who you need to start meeting with by being more intentional. And so I just shared that because whenever I was originating, we didn't have MMI, and I felt like I was constantly trying to get reports from title companies. But now that I have access to this tool, it's great. You can even see which agents and where they're sending their business to, like which lenders they are. So you can even go further of getting a battle plan of what maybe they're limited on products or whatever. You can learn what your competitive advantage could be based off who maybe they are sending business to, or maybe you see that they're not even really consistent of having a true lender partner. So that is going to be the second part of next week of how we did the first part of the database and looking for opportunity, but now it's getting laser focused on who's going to be on the bullseye for the partners that we want to meet with.
Well, I think that's really key. I mean, you said, right, listing agents, are you targeting listing agents? I feel like if you're a loan officer on this call, that if you're not, then you're missing a huge opportunity, right? And I think when it comes to listing agents, you only have so many. I think the challenge really is people need to double down right now. And
Mhm.
so so if you're first and foremost, make sure you're crushing it, following up and trying to recruit the agents that you already know, right? I mean, again, warm is way better than cold. We know that. And so who's sort of warm enough that you can be humble and say, gosh, I know I should have called you 3 months ago or 6 months ago or whenever it was. Hey, just wanted to follow up and see if I couldn't maybe give you some strategies that'll help you grow your business as we head into the year. And then you gotta, unfortunately probably have to cold call some people. I'm challenging, my team members on my team to do that. And I'll be interested to see. I sent out the challenge to them earlier today. I've not checked any of my messaging devices to see if anyone has accepted the challenge, but I'm assuming they all will. And then guess what? I'm going to have to do the same thing that Deborah's doing, and I'm going to have to dig into MMI and find them who to call, because I don't think they have enough people in their world to call on their own.
Well, and when I was going into all of our influencer clients and I was making sure that their favorites feed was set up, selfishly, it also makes it easier on our part to be able to do the liking and the commenting. But I was amazed of how many weren't even friends on social. And I thought, we just went ahead and friend requested, because I thought you should at least be following and being present or being seen at minimum for some of these guys. That it may be a long shot that you ever convert them, but it is possible. And so why wouldn't you be friends on social?
Well, I don't think it's a long shot. And the reason I don't think it's a long shot is you send them the friend request. They're like, oh, look, Deborah wants to be my friend. So now all of a sudden their reticular activator's up, and then you're liking and commenting, and then maybe you're following them on their stories, and therefore you're kind of commenting a DM. I mean, a perfect example, I mentioned it before, was John Downs. And, his videos are great. Number one. Number two, he's got plug and play SM doing, filling in his gaps for when, because he can't put all the content in the world out there. And he's taking the time and he's looking at who is watching his feed, right? So he knows who the agents are, and he's been re-engaging those agents. Just like we're talking about old leads, he's re-engaging. And now he's taking what he's learning, he and I together, because we're on the same wealth rabbit trail. And then he's using that to get meetings. So he had 2 big meetings last week with big agents who he wanted to partner up with. And he's basically offering, I won't go into the whole detail because I talked about it before, but ultimately he's really offering to partner up with them, help them be their accountability partners, and help work on them with these different strategies and building wealth. And so I love that part of it. So we got people asking Deborah about your battle plan. So I don't know if you want to get into that, but finish your other comment first that I interrupted.
I was going to say, with what's so crazy with John, and you guys, if you're not following him on social, look up, his name's John Downs. This is a guy, and I've been given permission to be able to share this, but he's kind of a perfectionist. And sometimes he would overthink just the production and the quality. And is it okay to do this? And what about that? And he would message me and ask for feedback. And as soon as I could just get him to do and get over that first initial hump of, you can wear a ball cap and you can be walking around and you can have your phone out. It doesn't always have to be in a perfect studio with perfect camera and lighting. In fact, it really shouldn't be, because that gets old and boring over time. And he just took off. He just had to get over the hump of the fear that he may have built up in his head. And let me tell you, he is a video making machine, and it's great. There's times I go back to his stories almost as often as I do Logan with Housing Wire to learn from him, because he is so wise with studying this market. So my hat's off to him, because he's really just taken it and exactly what he said he wanted to do. Because I recently went back and looked at our discovery call notes. He's doing and he's executing. So I'm proud of the guy.
Well, and I am too, right? He's a good friend of mine for a decade. I coached him for a couple of years when I was doing one-on-one coaching. So I got to know that side of his business as well. And, we're still friends now. We're doing business and life together, learning alongside of each other. But a couple of things I would say about John. Number one is that's who my wife follows on social. So she's like, hey, did you see what John said about this in the economy? I'm like, honey, I told you that last week. But when John says it, when I say it doesn't go far, but when John says it, it definitely goes far with my wife. So that's good. Number one. Number two is you're right, the imperfection is there. So my favorite one was recently, John's got a really fancy boat. I shouldn't say that, but every once in a while you'll see me sitting on the water, and he's walking in on his video, he's doing a selfie, and he walks in the the little top of the boat there, and he bumped his head, he's like, ouch, and then he just kept going. But that's perfect where John could have stopped the camera, or he could have edited that out, and he chose not to because it was freaking funny, right? People People love that. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that goes over far. So when you think about, does it have to be perfect? That's a perfect example where it doesn't have to. However, John is also built up to that point where he can do that. But if you watch John, number one, he loves running, and he's trying to run really fast for a guy who's in his 40s. Like I can say that. He just ran a 19 and a half minutes for the turkey trot. So like that's freaking
I know.
6.5 minute
And
mile,
his
I
kids
think.
are also very
His
fast.
daughters, yeah, he's got 2 daughters, and they're great. And then that he's really into the technicals of the market, right? You just know those two things about John when you get to know him. And I think you're going to start seeing him talk a little bit more about wealth, because that's one of the areas I'm growing with him and encouraging him to go down that path, because he's got that interest that I have. And so I think that's going to be kind of fun too.
Okay, so you said that there was a question about the
Someone
MMI.
says, I'd love to see Deborah's battle plan for using MMI. Is that something you can share? Is that a clients only thing?
Well, so the clients only thing is only us. I mean, I'll be more than happy. Anyone who's on this call and you're either listening to this in the YouTube channel or you're on it right now, if you just email me, so email marketing@plugandplaysm.com. Make sure you spell out the and. If you email me the state and the counties or county that you want, I'm more than happy to pull a list of your area to give you a hyper focused, target market of who to go after. But the battle plan is every Friday I send an email out to my clients, and I kind of spell out their week, Monday through Friday, of which videos to record and how to throw in some reels and trending audio, the things that we don't do. Like, we obviously can't be the face of the business. We can edit all the videos, but we just can't be them unless you're sisters and identical
You could do
twins.
that for me. Put my face on there, and then you guys just have someone else's lips move and try to make it look like it's close enough.
Yeah.
And MMI, for those of you who haven't figured it out yet, I don't know exactly what it stands for, but it's ultimately market data on realtors and loan officers, ironically, of who's producing and how much. But with the realtor side, it's kind of cool because it divides out listings versus buyer sides, and it shows the lenders that close the transaction. So hate to say, it's sort of a way, sorry, realtors, close your ears for a second. It's a way for a loan officer to see if their realtor's cheating on them or not. But it also just tells you, I personally have never cared when I was going after a real estate agent, unless they were working with someone in my company or a friend of mine at a different company. I didn't care who, that whether working with the number one loan officer in town, when we were, lower than that. Actually, we always were. We were never better than number two. And but it didn't matter to me. I didn't want to know, or I didn't care to know. But other people are like, well, I want to know who's my competition so I can talk bad about what I have different than. That didn't matter to me. Those of you who know me know I know that my processes that I have are my unique value proposition, and that's how I win. I don't win by belittling the competition. I win by actually showing that I have value to add to the partners.
And that's exactly how I don't usually look at the loan officers either. Now, I look at reports each quarter of the loan officers that we serve to kind of see how they're trending, and just to give them feedback, because we've been looking at things at how many more agent partners is it requiring to do the same number of transactions than, say, last year when you look at the purchase business. But when I was doing my search, I looked at the last 6 months. So in MMI, you can change the time frame. And I just went to real estate agent rank. I didn't do it like by office. I wanted to look at from the buyer side and the last 6 months, who's doing deals. Because I felt like if anyone's consistently doing deals in these last 6 months, they're most likely going to survive the market, or they're at least hungry and gritty on knowing which activities to do. And they're consistently doing those activities to still have the business that they have right now. So that's how I sorted the MMI. And I just looked at then volume and unit count. And some of them, like if they were Redfin or, Open Door, then I would discard, some of those and focus on the ones that were legit doing business. Yeah.
Well, free agents, right? Some of those are captive markets. So no, I think that's really great advice. And so, I think you just have to sort of think through, what your target can look like. And one other piece of advice I would throw out there, if you're a realtor on the call, my question for you is, what has your lender done for you lately? Like, are they really adding value to you? Do they, pay for some pumpkin pies for you, for your client party, or are they actually helping you grow your business? Number one. And the reason I say that is because number two, in my market, like a really big opportunity just came available for our team. It's an opportunity we missed out in COVID because we weren't doing a whole lot during COVID. And the other team opted out, and they opted out in my, this is my translation of it, but they opted out because they really weren't putting in the time. There's lots of opportunities for them to engage with not just agents, but top agents running teams. And it sounded to me like they didn't grow any business in 2 years of doing business with this large group of people that are really active and doing things, and that they had zero follow-up with the agents afterwards. That was the one comment, I guess, that I don't have to assume. The bottom line is they told them, I'm not getting any business from this group, so I'm going to opt out, which opened the door for us because we would have been the first choice before, supposedly. Either way, we didn't do it. So, but that's the whole idea of that you have to put yourself out there, right? Like so as you loan officers are out there, there's some big opportunities that are available to you because of what I just asked the realtors to do a minute ago, is that assess their opportunity. So that would be one of the questions I would ask them. Awesome. Hey, I know you've already got a great lending partner, or I know you already have a lending partnership, but is it a great lending partnership or just a partnership, right? Think about the questions that you can ask. And I would be really bold right now. I mean, I think that for me, for December and January, I mean, when I'm helping my team do that stuff, I'm going full force and I'm going to pull no punches. It's going to be a
Ruthless.
battle. The ruthless. That's good. All right. So,
can I just say to that, Todd, you do know that what brought this idea up and why I even recorded that video is because of your webinar of putting yourself in a place of opportunity. And that's when I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and start friend requesting these agents for my clients and start nurturing them and put them on a favorites list, because you've got to put yourself out there and in a place of opportunity to be seen so you can eventually get the business. So that's how much I love, like I have literally written that out multiple times, of putting yourself in a place of opportunity. That's kind of been my theme for the past week.
well, I'm glad, because I was so excited when I heard it. I'm like, this is just something that's too good not to share. So I love anytime that anyone else takes that idea and runs with it. And again, think about this. You all who are listening to this conversation is, that's a great conversation for you to have with other people. Hey, and I was listening to this thing about putting yourself in the path of opportunity. And I realized that's a message I want to share. And I was just asking, what are you doing to put yourself in the path of opportunity to get business right now?
Ooh, that's great.
Again, then you have to kind of have, what are the answers to that? But so watch that recording on the Win by Noon YouTube channel if it's blind to you. And then the last thing I'll say, and then I'll let Deborah kind of get there since we're hitting the end of it, is I also said the life planning piece. So the other part of it is you really have to unplug the plan. So I'm getting ready right after this to teach my financial planner group that I teach once a month. And I taught them life planning last year, and then I'm going to reteach them life planning again. So again, it's something I reteach every year. Even though they've heard it before, I don't care. They're going to hear it again. And then I'm going to remind them how to unplug for some time. So like my wife and I did a staycation on Saturday night. And what we were trying to do is lay the plan for when are we going to unplug for probably for us 48 hours to work on, number one, our life plan. What do we want our life to look like next year and beyond? And then number two, what's our vision for all of our businesses that we have, and how do we plan? And so we're going to look at that vision through 2030. And then we're going to look at 2025 into 2024 into 2023, right? So we're going to be really laser focused for where we want to see our personal lives go first and foremost, and then our business lives to go secondarily. So so be on the lookout. I'll do a life planning class for all of you. I just have to carve out time in my calendar, but I will make sure that happens in the next 2 weeks.
Well, and I want to bring up, because I know a week from tomorrow, you're doing the business planning class. Is that something that, whether they're a real estate agent on this call or loan officer, I think you should invite your partner to the call, maybe even watch it together. So if you're a real estate agent and you do have that lender partner, maybe you're asking, what has this lender partner done for you? This could be a great way to kind of start that conversation, is to attend that business planning class together. And I think it's so powerful when you have people in the same room. Or is it not meant for that? Is it more for you to learn? And then
nope, it's perfect to bring your partners to,
okay,
or to come to it and then bring it to your partner later. And it'll be geared towards loan officers and real estate agents, really anyone in sales, but more of a focus on loan officers and real estate agents. And then I'm going to teach it. And then at the end, I'm going to say, awesome, here's how to partner and work with other people on it. Because I think a lot of you know this, but some of you don't, is that was really my kind of my secret sauce back in the day when I was producing. The way that I got more real estate agent relationships was by helping them with what was important to them, which was planning and growing their business. And so I did quarterly planning. So that's why Win by Noon does a free quarterly business planning tool every quarter for loan officers, one for real estate agents, one for insurance agents, and then one for anyone in sales. And then I love to teach it, because I would get up this time of year, real estate companies would teach me to come in and teach it to their branch, to their brokerage. Team leaders would come have me teach it to their teams. And then title companies would bring me in to teach their real estate agents. And, again, the easiest way to do that is awesome. I teach them how to do it. We'd spend time doing it together. I give them breaks. We would give feedback on it. And then I'd say, awesome. Anyone who wants to do a one-on-one meeting with me, just here's a piece of paper, just fill it out and I'll follow back up with you. So about half the class would always want to follow up one-on-one with me. They'd raise their hand for it. And then guess what happened? The other half all got a call from me. And I said, awesome, let's set up a time. And I would typically get another half of those people. So typically 75% of the people that were in the room, I was able to get in front of and then hold accountable throughout the year. And so it's still one of my favorite things to do. And so the link is in here. And if you're watching on Zoom, and then if you are watching this on YouTube, I gave it to Adam so he could put it below.
Perfect. I don't see it in here yet. You said you did add it?
At the very top. I did it before you.
Oh, okay.
There,
okay.
So
got it. Okay.
So it's there. And I said, you should all do this. I put arrows in there. So just go up in the chat, people, and you will see it. You will see it there. And then Deborah's got a little link in there on how would you rate your lead gen. What do you want to do with that? What's our action plan there?
Just if they click on that, it takes you to the Win by Noon social media post. This was several months ago, but I even referred to this on my Friday call of just all the different spigots. It's basically, it almost looks like the wheel of life, but of different areas of where lead generation could come from.
Oh.
And just how would you rate yourself? Because then
that wheel of life applies
brings,
everywhere in life, doesn't it? Even to your,
I know.
even to your social media.
Well, see how this can be used as a reference. It's very easy to just send links. And guys, let this be a lesson for you all too. This is, something you could do with your own clients, that when you have a great graphic, you can just share the link through social or through a text, and they can reference it. So the visual helps. And so I will even use this to help guide clients where I'm like, okay, where do we need to tighten up? Like, where should be our area of focus? Where are you struggling with? Where's non-existent on the wheel? And again, the goal is always to keep the wheel balanced, but it's very eye-opening because you can see where maybe you're overcompensating in just one area too much.
All right.
I like that one.
Love it. All right. Any last minute thing you want to say before I kick everyone off this call to go out and be proactive in their life?
Just a reminder, because I get asked all the time on my mortgage coach shirts or Win by Noon shirts or the No Bar or Left Behind, there's 25% off. It's Cyber Monday. So that is one expense that you should make and represent the tribe, and just kind of the new standard that you are adopting in your life. Hopefully everyone's winning by noon. And so make sure you go online and get your gear and represent.
There we go. All right. Well, thanks for the sales pitch. shop.winbynoon.com. And what was it? Marketing at Plug and Play SM if they want to have you help them with their stuff.
Yes. Marketing at everything will always go to marketing at plugandplaysm.com.
Love it. All right. Well, appreciate you all for being here today. If there's anything that Deborah and I could do to be of help, let us know. If not, we will see you back here at noon Pacific next Monday for another Win by Noon webinar.
Sounds good. Bye.
All right. Out, everyone.